Hey, hey, stay at homies, what is up? So it's Friday, and by now I'm sure you know what Friday means. It means it's time for another So You Think You Know. This is a kind of a special one today. So I want you to watch the whole thing. It's a little bit longer than our usual So You Think You Knows, but there's a really important message for the school community to hear at the end. So make sure you stay tuned through the whole thing. Two amazing EMJ teachers. Today we are hearing more about Mrs. Peterson and Mrs. Farrell. I'm so excited. Hello, you two. How are you?
Hi, Ms. Defoe. Hello, EMJ friends. Well, I am here at home in Douglasdale, and I wish I was in the classroom with my students, especially at this time of year, but I miss you all.
Hi, Miss Defoe. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Hi, boys and girls. I really miss you.
My favorite color is blue. I have loved blue since I was very young. My mom loved pink and always tried to dress me in pink, and I always wanted blue. I also love blue walls in my home and blue dishes. My favorite Freezy is the blue Mr. Freezy. Definitely my favorite color.
My favorite color, I get the kids asking me all the time what's my favorite color, what are my favorite colors, and I always say blue and pink. But if I would have to just choose one, it would be blue. And because the blue reminds me of the sky, it reminds me of water, oceans, lakes, and so it connects me to nature. So I think blue, if I had to pick one, it would be blue.
This year is my 13th year at EMJ, and I've taught many different grades and many different programs. But I spent 9 years with Mrs. Higgs as my team teacher. So that was my big start at EMJ. And then I moved into the PLP program for 3 years. And this past year was my first year in grade 2. And what a year! Crazy. But I do love my grade 2s.
How many years have I taught at EMJ? Oh my goodness. A very long time. So this is actually my 17th year at EMJ. So that's a very, very, very long time. I actually started the same September that Mr. Jones, our assistant principal, before Mrs. McKay started. So we started that same September that year, 17 years ago.
What's your favorite candy? Yum!
My favorite candy are gummies. I like sour gummies, and then if I had to choose, I also like the green and yellow flavors the most. Not blue, but it's a close third.
My favorite candy? Easy peasy, jujubes. I don't actually buy them too often because once I open a bag, I eat the whole entire bag. So if I want an extra special treat, it's jujubes, but I'll eat them all.
What's your favorite subject to teach?
My favorite subject to teach. I love to teach art and science. Art, it's fun to see how your drawings and paintings come to life and how they're different from each other's. I always did art as a child and growing up. I love being creative, and it's neat to see that in the classroom as well. Science is fun because you get to be hands-on again and do experiments and be wowed by new knowledge and new tricks that kind of like magic in science. So definitely those would be my two favorites.
My favorite subject. I would say my favorite subject is reading, teaching kids to read, and also reading aloud when we're on the carpet time and discussing the stories and making inferences and connections to what we're reading. It's exciting and fun, and that's probably one of my most favorite things to do.
So, where are you from?
I grew up in Northern Ontario, right in between some Great Lakes, Lake Huron and Lake Superior, in a place called Sault Ste. Marie. And my family's been from that area for a long time, so we spent a lot of time out at the Soo, but out in the cottage country where my dad owns a lighthouse. So when I was growing up, I got to sleep in a lighthouse on the weekends.
Where did I grow up? So I have been in Calgary since I was in grade 3. So I consider myself a Calgarian. Calgary is my hometown. Before that, I was actually born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but I don't remember it because my dad got transferred when I was about 6 months old. And he was transferred to New York, and we lived down in New Jersey, which is a state right beside New York. And so we lived there. My sister was born there. And my dad traveled on the train, and he actually worked at the World Trade Center many, many years ago in the early 1970s. And then he was transferred again, and we went to Montreal. So I actually did kindergarten in United States, and then grade 1 and grade 2 I did in Montreal, and then he was transferred here to Calgary, and that's when I started grade 3, and then we stayed here ever since. And a fun fact for you, now younger kids may not remember her, but if you have older brothers or sisters, you might remember one of our teachers, and her name was Miss White Tucker. And she taught at our school for many years. And when I went to Ethel M. Johnson and I saw her, I realized that she was my grade 3 teacher. When I first came to Calgary, she was my first teacher, and I was in her very first class. She just graduated from university. So I actually ended up teaching at EMJ with my grade 3 teacher my first year in Calgary. So it was pretty funny. It was very ironic. Small world.
So, what's your favorite book?
My favorite books right now are the Mo Williams. I absolutely love the way you could change your voices for the characters and lots of expression. I read Mo Williams to my students at school, but I also get to enjoy reading them with my son at home.
What is my favorite book? Well, my very, very all-time favorites are books that I read when I was younger. And so now that I've been teaching grade 3, I'm lucky that I could reread them with my students. So my very, very all-time favorite book is Charlotte's Web. I love this book. I know every character. I remember it specifically when my teacher read it to me when I was in grade 3. That teacher I was telling you about that we worked together eventually. I specifically remember this book, and I still love this book to this day. And then my 2 runner-ups, and again, I remember when my teachers read them to me when I was in school, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So we read this book this year, and also some of us started reading this book together in our guided reading groups, and then things got paused because of COVID, so I'm hoping that my students continue to read this. So those are my favorite books, and they're children's books. Nowadays, I love to read books that are mystery. So when I was a teenager, I read every Agatha Christie, and then I reread them all since then. So I love Agatha Christie. I love a mystery that I don't know what's happening until the very end, and then my brain kind of puts all the pieces together like a puzzle. And sometimes I solve them, but I love it better when I don't solve them because that means it was a really good mystery. And last year I read a book called The Magpie Murders, and it was actually very Agatha Christie-like, and so I really loved finding a book that reminded me of my favorite author. So those are my favorite books.
What is a hobby you enjoy in your spare time?
Hobbies? Oh, I love so many different things. A few of my hobbies would be, right now, I'm into gardening. But mostly I would say I've been always into baking and doing things like canning, so making jams and chutneys. And then baking, I like to make different treats and follow different recipes. I find it relaxes me if I've been really busy, so it's a good way for me to calm down. And then I get to enjoy tasty treats.
So I'm going to divide them up to summer, winter. In the winter time, my hobbies are reading. I like to read. I actually have a book club, and we meet once a month and read and discuss books. It's pretty intense. People bring notes, and yeah, it's a very, very intense book club, but it's fun. And I also, what do I do in the winter? I actually get up a lot on, or I get onto the computer when I get up in the mornings on the weekend, and I love to look around and research new ideas of way to bring the curriculum to life and do really fun, cool projects for kids. So maybe that's kind of like a hobby. And then my hobbies change in the summer. So I still love to read, except I don't read book club books. I just read kind of more of my own interest, and I love doing it outside or, if possible, on a beach. That's my very, very favorite thing to do. And I also garden a lot. So my house has a lot of gardens, especially in the front. It's all flowers. And so it's a lot of work to keep it nice looking, but it's worth it in the end. Right now I'm just in my backyard, so it's mostly trees and bushes, but my front yard is all beautiful flowers. So I do lots of gardening in the summer. And then a lot of you know that my mother's family's from Prince Edward Island, and we have family land there, so I usually go to Prince Edward Island too every summer, but not this summer because of COVID, but I'll be back next summer.
What kind of music do you like?
I like to listen to a lot of different music. I do like country music, especially around Stampede. But when I'm at home, I tend to listen to a real mix, but I really like blues and some jazz. Especially in the evening when I'm preparing dinner, it's nice to have that music playing.
Well, I was a teenager in the 80s, and so I love 80s rock and pop. And I listened to U2 and David Bowie and Madonna and a whole bunch of those groups. And so even now I listen to current music, but I also always go back to my 80s favorites.
What is your
ultimate recess snack?
The ultimate recess snack for me would be, this is going back a while ago, but ginger cake with lots of caramel sauce. And the person who used to make it for our staff room has retired, but I got the recipe, so it's all good.
My favorite recess snack, two. When Miss Summers used to teach at our school, she moved 2 years ago. She made this hot cheesy dip in a crock pot, and I know a lot of teachers have talked about it. And it's was like a chili con queso, kind of cheesy with tomatoes and some jalapeno peppers in it. And it would heat up all morning, and you could smell it in the school. And then she'd put a ladle in it, and then we'd put a bunch of nachos in a bowl and pour the sauce over it. So she probably did that once or twice a year. Miss Percy actually has made it a couple of times since she left. But that's a super special treat you don't usually have. But if there isn't the chili con queso dip, I really like something like cheese and crackers and some fruit like grapes and strawberries. So that's kind of my favorite thing to eat at recess. Although usually I just eat an apple.
Do you have any pets? Oh, I love pets.
Do I have pets? Yes, I have 2 cats. I have Gus and Luna, and I will grab Luna in a minute. But when I was growing up, I only had dogs, and it wasn't until I became an adult that I got to enjoy cats as pets. Let me grab her. Oh, she's busy cleaning herself. That's the good thing about cats. They can clean themselves. Hey, say hi, Luna. Purr, purr.
Do I have any pets? No, unfortunately, I don't have any pets. We used to. When my children were growing up, we had a little Yorkshire Terrier, but he got old and he passed away, and we decided not to get another animal because my kids are older now. So we don't have any pets, but my oldest daughter has a dog named Sam, and she's part Border Collie and part Lab. And she also has a beautiful cat named Pritis. And they're both really, really friendly and love to cuddle. So when I go to her house to visit, then I kind of get my dog and cat time. Although I don't go too close because I'm allergic to both. So I cuddle them and I make sure I wash my hands and I'm careful around them.
Well, my friends, this is near the end of the year. How crazy is that? I hope you have a wonderful last few days of school and an incredible summer. Bye. Oh, let's go in there. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Defoe. It's been really great talking to you and really great talking to the EMJ students and some families if they're watching. I did have a little special message, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but I did tell my students and my parents this year that I am actually going to be leaving EMJ this year. So it's super, super sad because I've been there for so long, and EMJ is my second family and always will be, because EMJ is a very, very special place. It's a super special school. And the relationships we have don't occur at most other schools, so it's pretty special. However, after 17 years, I thought it was time for a different type of a challenge. So I actually am moving to a brand new school that's being built right at the moment in Cranston. So there's already one elementary school there, but it's so huge that they have built a second elementary school. It's called Sibylla Kittle School, and I'll be teaching grade 3, and it probably actually won't be open right away on the first day of school because of COVID and some delays, so we might be housed in another school close to there for a couple of weeks before everything gets organized there. So I just want to say thank you to everyone at EMJ. The parents, the families, the boys and girls have made my life so much happier and satisfying because of what amazing people you are, and I'm very lucky to have been there for so long. So take care, and I will come back and visit when it's safe to do so next fall, so I can say a proper in-person goodbye. Thanks a lot, guys. See you.
Thank you so much to both of you for doing that. It was so fun to hear more about you. I have to say, Mrs. Peterson, Luna is adorable, just so cute. So nice to meet you, Luna. And I have to comment on your ultimate recess snack. I totally remember that cake. And I'm just wondering, if you have the recipe, why haven't you brought it to school? Just asking. I'm just asking. And Mrs. Farrell. So many comments. There's so many things I want to say about yours. But I think what I'll say is thank you so much for taking the time to share your news, your sad but also your very exciting news with the EMJ family. You've been just such a huge part of our community for so long, and I know I can speak for our whole EMJ family, our whole community, when I say how missed you are going to be, and just how much we've all appreciated you as a teacher, as a colleague, as a friend. So we look forward to you visiting very, very, very much. And just a fun fact that students, some of you might not know this, when I first started teaching at EMJ, Mrs. Farrell and we taught together for my first 3 years. So that was when Mrs. Farrell was still teaching kindergarten and I was just getting started, and she taught me everything. I don't know what I would have done without Mrs. Farrell. So I feel like we kind of have a special bond, and I'm going to miss you terribly, but I'm very excited for you. So congratulations, Mrs. Farrell. And thank you again, Mrs. Peterson, Mrs. Farrell. So much fun to learn about you both. So that's it for all of us. Until next time, be brave, be kind, and wash your hands. Bye.